Hi everyone, here's the Bookchemist once again, and today I'm reviewing L'amica geniale, My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, a heartbreaking masterpiece of a novel which I completely adored. I had been told it was great, but I couldn't imagine it was this amazing. I know it's also pretty popular in the US, and if you've read the book and you're not Italian, please stick around to the end of the video because I'm very interested in your opinion on a couple of things. This is first and foremost a novel that resonated with me a lot and resonated with so many of the stuff my parents told me about their youth. I'm from the other end of the country, rather than where the novel is set. The novel is set in Naples in the 1950s, but one thing I've learned about Italy, living abroad, spending a lot of time abroad in the last few, basically the last 10 years of my life, is that yes, us Italians are a very diverse people, and it's true that Italians can be very different. Pretty much every city in Italy has its own identity, both cultural and social and whatnot, but at the same time there's so much stuff that we all share, and I think at the end of the day we are much more similar to each other than we sometimes like to think. Beyond that, beyond its Italian identity, the novel is so masterful at capturing the mindset and the thought processes of someone who is stuck in that awkward age when you're in middle school, you're like 12, 13, 14, and the people around you, you're not a child anymore, but you're not really an adult, and the people around you, the friends you've grown up with all your life, are all at different points in their personal growth, and so many things stop making sense, and you start realizing so much about the world around you that you didn't know. You start realizing the way adults behave, you start seeing evil as it manifests in your personal life, and it's a difficult moment, and it's captured beautifully, also amazingly in the novel, especially through its constant ambiguity. Ambiguity is what makes literature great, of course. Great literature is so good at portraying the ambiguity of life, how questions never have a final answer at the end of the day. The closure of plots, character development, narrative structures, themes in literature is what offers a balance and allows it to portray the ambiguity of so much of existence. And the ambiguity in My Brilliant Friend is embodied in the title itself. This is a novel with two main characters, the narrator Elena and her friend Lila, and these two girls grow up in the Naples of the 50s, as I may have mentioned, and at the end of the day you're never even sure who of the two is the brilliant friend. More than that, the novel captures the ambiguities you face when growing up clever enough to notice the horror and the misery in the world around you, knowing and realizing that the parents of your friends, people you've known all your life, are actually sometimes disgusting people, that they committed crimes in the past. This, as a novel set in the Italy of the 50s, cannot but touch upon the legacy of World War II and fascism, and it captures the basic contradiction of feeling affection and strong love for the place you were born in, for the place you grew up in, that was your whole world as a child. This book is set in Arione, in a quarter in Naples. Feeling these strong feelings for a place that at the end of the day is also very miserable, a place where houses are in terrible conditions, your apartment is small, you live a difficult life, cramped with people that are constantly angry, constantly nervous, constantly shouting and beating each other up. The way the narrator and main character Elena is appalled by this constant undertone of threat and violence, but at the same time has very strong feelings of affection, loves the people who embody and sustain and represent this undertone of threat and behave this way because they are her friends, because they are the people she grew up with, is represented beautifully through the difficulties of the language, through the constant self-doubt of the main character as she grows up. I don't want to talk about the plot of the novel in order not to spoil it at all, but this is a novel that even more than because of its broader plot, the broader plot of this novel, as with most plots, if reduced to the minimum terms, is actually pretty standard. It lives through the glory of its episodes. This is a novel made of several different episodes that are captured through an aura of sort of epicness that makes all of these individual episodes that maybe happen in the span of an afternoon. That time we went to the city center to get ice cream and the boys got beaten up by kids from Napoli Centro. That time I went to Ischia. That time I went to speak to the elementary school teacher and she came home and convinced my parents that I had to go to middle school. And these apparently uninteresting, apparently mundane episodes assume the aura of quests, each of them, because you're very involved in the life of all these characters. You get to know all these people so closely. This is a novel that very cleverly provides you with a list of characters on its first page, and I was reading it very slowly and I was constantly referring to that list because I knew all of these people, but I sometimes had difficulties keeping their names straight, remembering who Alfonso is and who Antonio is and who Pasquale is, and so I was constantly referring back to the very useful list. You are interested in them. You want to, when something happens to Pasquale, it's not just like, you know, something's happening to one of the characters in the novel. No, it's happening to Pasquale, a guy you actually know, even if you're not sure whether, wait, Pasquale, is it the son of the carpenter, or is it the guy who works as a mechanic and has the crazy mother? But you're interested in their life, and the way that is achieved in a novel is amazing, and the way those episodes, those daily episodes, are turned into such quests isn't, you know, your life as a kid when you're a kid, isn't the times you go to the city center or the times something extraordinary happens. Don't they have that aura of greatness because they are the first times you are confronted with, I don't know, the city center, a trip downtown, going out with your friends all alone. And that's captured beautifully once again. I often feel like I'm at a loss when it comes to portraying how a truly amazingly great novel is actually masterful, and here more than ever I'm not sure I can fully capture just how astonishing an achievement this is, because it's beyond all those things I've said, it's also incredibly addictive and flows beautifully. It did those things where you want to read very slowly because you want to live for as long as possible in this world, while at the same time you're so curious about the life of these people you'd like to read the whole thing in a single setting. If there's one thing I have to say about the novel, and it's not a negative criticism, it's just something you should probably know, is that this, as you probably already know, it's the first part of a 4-volume series, and it's not like the novel ends abruptly. It's not like it ends with a cliffhanger, and the last paragraph of the novel is actually brilliant and answers one of the main questions that was raised in the course of the novel, and I loved it. At the same time, I don't think it necessarily makes that much sense to only read My Brilliant Friend, because the way it ends makes you inevitably want to read what happens next. You're going to immediately want to read the second volume, and I love to read the second volume as soon as possible. That's not bad at all. It's mainly a function of how addictive the novel is. It's just something you should probably know, that this is probably going to be a 4-volume commitment. You may not be able to just stop after the single My Brilliant Friend. But as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, if you've read the novel and you're not Italian, let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. I'm very curious. I spoke recently with a comparatist friend of mine who studies comparative literature, and he told me about how several writers who, foreign writers who are very popular in the US and in the English-speaking world, are so because of certain elements of their language and also of their novels in general. He mentioned writers such as Haruki Murakami, or Roberto Bolaño, because they convey to English-speaking audiences what they may consider to be the essence, in a way, of their culture, and also because their books are written in ways that make them accessible even to people who are not necessarily experienced in the culture these languages are come from. I don't know anything about the topic. I don't want to imply, and maybe he doesn't want to imply, that these writers do that on purpose, also because authorial intention is doubtful whether it matters or not when you're reading books. But it's true that L'Amica Geniale, My Brilliant Friend, I think it's a novel that, if translated, can be truly and deeply appreciated by people who don't know about Italian culture or history. By comparison, I just began Il Pendolo di Foucault, Foucault's Pendulum by Umberto Eco, and I've just read the first 50 pages, and all the occult references are flying over my head, but at least I can grasp the references to Italian culture and to Italian literature. And someone who doesn't get those references, I'm not saying his reading experience won't be valuable. In a way, the book will teach him or her how to read itself. It's complicated, it ties in with matters of semiotics and shit, but their reading experience is going to be different. Whereas I'm not so sure that my reading experience and a Brooklyn kid's experience with My Brilliant Friend are going to be that quintessentially different. But these are such complicated big questions, and I need to add asterisks to each of these to shield my ass from criticism, so I'll stop here. Do let me know about your experience with the novel, whether you've read it in Russian, English, Spanish, Italian, Neapolitan dialect. They should make a version of this written in Neapolitan dialect, and let me know what you think of it in the comments below. Thanks as always for watching. I'll see you in the next review. Bye guys.